I am very excited to talk about this week's topic because it's something very actionable and tangible that you can start implementing into your life so that you can lead your life and you can design your life in a way that is more aligned to you, and you're not having life kind of float on by and the day float on by in your calendar leading the way for you, as opposed to you really being in that driver's seat. So as the title suggests for this video, it is all about time tracking. I did a time audit on myself for about 2 weeks, and there are so many lessons that I learned that I'm so excited to share with you. And I hope it gets you excited for you to actually take a look at your schedule and your time so that you can see what insights you learned from yourself. So first off, if time is one of our most important assets that we value so much, then we should really know where it's going. I think that time just keeps moving and our schedule keeps moving and our reactions to things in our daily life keep moving forward. So sometimes we just can't really be aware of where all of our time is going because the day just moves on. So I'm really hoping exercise really helps you be more mindful and bring some awareness to exactly where your day is going. So first off, what even sparked the idea for me to start tracking my time? I use a calendar app called VimCal, and I actually mentioned it in a previous video. I'll link to it in the cards, and they have something called VimCal Wrapped, and it's basically like Spotify Wrapped, showing me the highlights of my meetings, the minutes in my meetings. I was shocked because it calculated exactly how many meetings I was in, how many minutes I was in meetings, and also it calculated the time in between the meetings. So you might have something on your calendar that ends at like the 50 mark, and then your next meeting starts at the top of the hour. So it calculated all of those little moments and those little time increments that maybe you didn't have enough time to really do too much. So there's a lot of, I would say, dead time or wasted time in our calendar that we might not even realize really amounts to a lot. So this VimCal Wrapped logged everything, and I gotta say, I actually was not that happy about it because at the end of the year, it's not like I want to say, wow, Rachel was so impactful. She was in X amount of meetings. She was in this many minutes of meetings. And it just really got me thinking of, am I really using my time as wisely as I could be? Did I really get that much work done in those meetings? Or could I have used that time to better plan, better strategize, actually do focused work? So I began tracking my time and doing an audit on my life. There are a lot of tools that actually do this and track your time. I'm someone who likes to do a lot of research on all the tools, all the apps and all the things, and do a compare and contrast and do an analysis. But I just wanted something really quick. And there's one that kind of popped out at me that had a 30-day free trial. So I just opted for Toggle, which is the app that I use. There's a desktop version as well as something that you can put on your phone. So it's applicable to both. And it really did the trick. If you are someone though who wants to track everything in Notion, and Notion is sort of your life source, then I totally understand. I actually created a Notion time tracker. It's very simple and basic. It basically tracks your start time, end time, your activity, and also the category. So you can kind of calculate and sum up how much time you're spending within each category of your life. So if you prefer Notion, I actually have that free for you with the link in the description box. Okay, so who should be tracking their time? Let's go through the list. Track your time if you don't know where yours is going. There were so many days I just didn't know where the time was going. But if we look at it from a daily perspective, how many of you have woken up in the morning thinking you're going to get 1 through 100 things done on your list, and at the end of the day, you realize like, yes, I was busy all day. I was running around all day. I was in meetings all day, but you still didn't have that sense of accomplishment because maybe you didn't complete the couple things that you really wanted to that were super important to you at the beginning of the day because of life. You just didn't get to it. So if you don't know where your time is going, you may want to go through this exercise. The next point that I have written down here is you juggle several different roles and identities in your life. I'm someone who has created kind of a portfolio career. I do fractional marketing work, I do consulting, I do coaching, I create online. So there's a lot of different roles and hats that I wear from just a professional sense. And then if you take a look at the personal sense of I would love to spend time with my family, with my friends, with me, and having me time and self-care time, even from that personal sense, there's so many different kind of identities or roles that I hold. And I think that's true for all of you. So even if you have a 9 to 5, you just have one job, or 9 to 9, honestly, for a lot of people, there's a lot of burnout that's out there. So we are all kind of just bopping around between our different identities and trying to juggle it all. And something is bound to fall off. And maybe that something is actually an identity that we really value a lot. And so for that reason, I think that tracking your time can be very valuable because you can see exactly which identities you lean more towards and which ones you don't, and kind of do a reflection from that standpoint. You should track your time if you are a freelancer or someone who has billable hours. So there are some clients that I have that I charge hourly. And for that reason, obviously, I will want to know exactly how many hours, how much time I'm specifically working on for that client. So for that reason, if you have more of a freelance hour by hour kind of schedule, this is definitely something that could be useful for you. So you can really see exactly how much time you're spending on your client work, and then also how much time you have left over outside of that. So you can identify what your capacity is. And then lastly, it kind of brings me back to that first point of you just feel like you're not getting as much done in your day that you really want to. And I think it really just goes back to living a life that is led by the reaction to things and led by your calendar and led by other people and priorities, as opposed to what's really important to you. All right, so now that you can see exactly who should be tracking your time, please let me know in the comments if any of that resonates with you and if you think that you are someone who does need to track their time. So now let's get into how to track your time. I definitely have some tips around this that I will implement a lot more the next go around when I do this, because I do want to track my time on a periodic basis. I might maybe do this quarterly just to make sure that how I'm living my life quarter by quarter is exactly how I want to create and design it. So the first tip that I have here is be as detailed as possible. It could definitely be seen as annoying or impossible to really be as detailed as possible, but I think it's very interesting. For example, I even track things like going to check the mail, and on average, by the way, it takes me 7 minutes. But just try to be as detailed as possible, because I always think that the more data that you have is better, especially when you're doing this type of exercise versus not. Another tip that I have when you track your time is track in real time. There's definitely been minutes, hours even, where I completely forgot to track my time, and I told myself, oh, I'll get to it and I'll do it. And then as soon as you know, I'm on activity 3, 4, 5 in the day, and it's now 6 p.m. and I haven't tracked for a whole afternoon. And it's really hard to go back to remember exactly what you were doing, because that's the whole point of this exercise, is that you don't know where your time is going. So really just try to be as real time as possible when you track your time. And lastly, how to track your time. One more tip that I have, try not to make any adjustments to your schedule. You want this to be as realistic as possible so that you can get a very good foundational baseline understanding of what is going on in your day. So these are some of the things that I learned personally from tracking my time, and I hope that it helps you. So first, sleep. Sleep is very important. I tracked my sleep. I don't have the Aura Ring or any of those sort of like app gadget tech things to track your sleep. So I kind of just did this right before I went to bed, and then I tried to remember to turn off the timer when I woke up. Sleep is very important, and unsurprisingly, it is the biggest bucket, with almost 50% of my time going to sleep and rest. With that being said, that really helped me understand that sleep needs to be restful and it needs to be an enjoyable experience. So is there an opportunity for me to optimize my rituals around sleep, make it an environment that feels comfortable, that feels cozy, it's the right temperature? I want to make sure that I'm getting the best sleep possible. The other lesson that I learned here is everyday tasks take longer and also don't take as long. So for example, pulled up this statistic. Did you know for the average American, we spend 55 minutes a day looking for things? And when I found that stat, I didn't actually say, oh, that's impossible, because as I was tracking my time, I remember specific moments within those 2 weeks that I was looking for something and I couldn't find it. And I was searching and searching and searching. And when you tally that up, it actually ends up being quite a bit of time. I have a specific place where I put my house keys, my car keys, and all of that. But there was one specific time where I was going out and I had an outfit on that I really wanted to wear a specific bag with. And that bag was nowhere to be found. I thought perhaps I left it somewhere and I tore my house apart looking for it. I could not find it. Then as I did a deep clean and I was cleaning my home because I had made such a mess, I found it under a pile of clothes. I would definitely say everyday tasks do take longer from that aspect. And then there are some that are actually shorter. So for example, doing the dishes on average takes me about 16 minutes. I dread doing the dishes, but if I think about that, it's only 16 minutes that it takes me to do that. So is it something that I could actually reframe in my mind and thinking maybe that could be 16 minutes of me also listening to a meditation or me listening to an audiobook? Maybe it's just a little bit of a reframe of it's only 16 minutes. So do I need to dread that time as much as I do? The next lesson that I have here is work expands to fill the available time. When I say that I'm going to edit a video, I'm going to create an Instagram post, instead of saying I'm going to do it today, I think what actually helps me is I'm going to give myself 1 hour and I'm going to complete it in this 1 hour. It just gives directive to my brain that, okay, I have 1 hour, let's get to work. Because what I noticed in my schedule is that I would say, editing a video, and in those in-between moments when I have 10 minutes, 15 minutes in between different tasks, I would try to edit a video for 10 minutes and then I would finish it later in the afternoon where it would take another couple of hours. And then it just seemed like I was editing all day when really I didn't need to edit all day. I just needed dedicated time to be able to allocate enough time for a specific task. When I started to edit a video in those 10 minutes that I had, I would look at it as if I was being productive because I didn't want to waste those 10 hours. But there's constantly context switching that's happening in our brain that overloads our brain, that makes us tired. Instead of try to get into the editing mode for 10 minutes and as I'm really in the swing of things, then have to hop on a call. Instead of doing that for myself, can I maybe clear my inbox or something that's a little bit more passive as opposed to doing deep work in those little moments of time? This leads me to the next lesson, which is time blocking. Time blocking is a must. And for me, because I do have client work, it's maybe not quite as easy to do because there are certain clients where I'm more required to be on and it's work kind of scattered throughout the day, versus there are some other clients though that I have where maybe I can time block. Maybe there's just a few hours at the beginning of the week, or there's a dedicated day or 2 days where I just work on that one client. Then the rest of the week, I don't really have to do active work because I already time blocked it into my calendar. So that's something that I definitely want to get better at, that I think could really be helpful when it comes to getting what you need to get done in a more seamless way. And then lastly, my me time needs to be better managed. Right now, it is currently filled with way too much social media time. And I can tell myself like, oh, I need to be on social media because I need to research something. I need to see what the trends are. And while that is true to an extent, I don't need to be doing that for hours and hours and hours. So let's see if I can minimize that. When do I spend the most time scrolling, which unfortunately is at the start of my day and at the end of my day. So for me, I need to start small. I don't want to just cold turkey say I'm not scrolling ever. I think I want to minimize how much I scroll in the morning hours and reserve that just for nighttime, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for being here. I'm hoping that this is helpful to you. Remember, if you are interested in this, I do have links in the description box to get you started. Love to know what your experience is like, and I will definitely do another part to this because I found it to be very interesting, and I can't wait to optimize more of my time and ultimately design and create my life in a way that feels good to me.